Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Friday, December 27th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast, one of the last weekday editions of the 2020 year. We've got a couple next week, 2019 year, I should say, before we hit 2020. Got a couple next week, and then we'll have New Year's, but still be doing the podcast. Anyways, I got my good friend here, Cole Sheldon, on today. We're going to talk about Bellator Japan. That card takes place tomorrow. Just initial thoughts on the card, Cole. Pretty nice to have a card back in Japan. Reminds me of the old Pride days.
Yeah, it's cool to see him back in Japan, especially having Fedor Rampage headline. Makes a lot of sense. They were both huge in Pride. Just Fedor's really career took off in Japan, and I know this is kind of his farewell tour. I'd like to see them go back to Japan again with Fedor, maybe do like Barnett Fedor later on, but it's good to see Bellator really trying to put Fedor in the market where he began.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, he's a legend, and I know he's tailed off, and he's not the same guy he once was, and I didn't even include him in my top 10 of the decade list, Cole. I don't know, would you have included him? I personally didn't, but I had some people saying he should be on the list, and Anderson Silva should be on the list. I disagree. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I don't think he deserved to be. He really tailed off. Like, if this was 2010 or 2010 to 2013, 14 to be on it, but these last couple of years, same with Anderson Silva. Like, the beginning of the decade, Silva was amazing, but these last couple, like, his record's almost 500 now. Like, they don't deserve to be on the list.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. Anyways, we're going to break down the 6 fights with odds, and then there are some other fights in the card that don't have odds, but we'll talk about them briefly, not as much detail because there's just no odds for them, so there's no point. But let's start with the main event of the evening, Cole. So, interesting fight here. Fedor Emelianenko against Quinton Jackson. The opening odds were pretty lopsided in Jackson's favor, or Fedor's favor, excuse me, which surprises me. They were minus 290 Fedor, plus 230 Rampage. So that was the opener. Right now it's a pick'em with Fedor at minus 150 and Jackson at minus 105. Who's your pick?
Yeah, the opening odds made no sense at all. I wouldn't have been surprised. Like, these are what the opening odds should have been. Like a pick'em fight. They both have a lot of power. Their both chins have been questionable in the last couple bit. For me, I have to lean towards Fedor. I just think Fedor has more ways to win. I think he can use his wrestling and get Rampage down and just kind of keep him there. But Fedor, he showed his last couple. Like, it only takes one punch to really rock him. Like, Fedor hit him with a punch that didn't even seem too powerful and knocked him out. Rampage, I think, has more power, so that's something to be worried about. Personally, I'd stay away from this line as it is right now as a pick'em just because it's so close. If you got Rampage at the opening odds, that was huge value, but I lean towards Fedor slightly.
I lean towards Jackson. I mean, I'm one of Fedor's biggest fans. I love Fedor, but I just don't believe him anymore. Like, he's not able to take a punch like he used to. Jackson, for all his flaws, Cole, and he's got a lot of flaws, he's kind of a lazy guy and really never lived up to his potential, I think, in Bellator. Even though his record in Bellator is good, it's 6-2, so he's got a good record. He just never really showed up the way he did back in the early days in the UFC and also Pride. But still, I mean, the guy has knockout power, and he showed that in his last fight against Wanderlei. He knocked him out. And I know he's not really in great shape for this fight. I'll say that. Like, from what I heard, he's going to weigh 260 pounds, which, Rampage has been criticized all over his career for his lack of conditioning. And Fedor, to some extent, too. I mean, Fedor's conditioning is not amazing either, but, it's worked for him. With Rampage, it never worked for him, really, especially in the UFC, when he's fighting guys with better athletes like Ryan Bader and just getting absolutely dominated. In this fight, though, I mean, Fedor is 43 now. Jackson's 41, so I think the age is pretty similar, if not favor of Jackson. And I just think Fedor's chin is the biggest, negative to him right now. He gets knocked out more than he used to, that's for sure. Knocked out Ryan Bader in just a few minutes, and Matt Mitrione in a couple minutes too. I think Jackson catches him and knocks him out. Do I love the line? Not anymore. Not as much. I still think Jackson does win, though. So I would lean towards Jackson, but I loved him at plus 230. So if anyone actually got that line, that was a sick line. Turn up MMA. I got Jackson plus 135. Honestly, man, I think at plus money, Jackson's worth the bet. I know Cole likes Fedor, and I respect his opinion. And honestly, Fedor can win. He absolutely can win. But if you look at Jackson's career, I mean, how often does he get knocked out? It's not very often. Like, it's very rare. Has he even ever been knocked out? Okay, if Shogun knocked him out in Wanderlei, and it's been literally 15 years since he's been knocked out. So it's very hard to knock Rampage out. That's the one thing I'll give him credit for. His chin is very good. So I like Jackson to knock Fedor out. And it should be a fun fight, though. I like the matchup, Cole. It's definitely an interesting, fun fight for the fans and a good way to end the year.
Well, I remember too.
Right.
We were talking about it, and you had that opening odds thing, and I read it, and it was like 5 minutes after it posted, and then I checked the odds, and it was almost immediately back to pick 'em. I'm like, geez, like people were so fast on getting Rampage of those odds.
Yeah, I mean they blew the line at the book, and that will happen at points, especially because Nick doesn't open these odds anymore. When Nick opened the odds, they were almost always bang on. Nick is the best guy out there as far as odds go. There's some other guys that are pretty good too, but Nick's odds, Cole, and you're kind of new, a little bit newer to the scene, I guess. But I think even you can tell that like some of these sports books, like I don't know, I don't want to criticize guys because it's not an easy job, but I don't know how much knowledge they have sometimes about the sport. When you're opening Fedor as a minus like it's a 3-1 favorite in 2019. That doesn't make sense to me. It is what it is. All right, co-main event of the evening. Interesting fight here a little bit too. Michael Chandler against Sidney Outlaw. Outlaw is filling in short notice for Benson Henderson, who got hurt. So Michael Chandler minus 900 and Outlaw plus 600. Those were the opening odds. And right now we have Michael Chandler minus 335, Outlaw plus 275. And same thing here, Cole. I thought the opening odds were really long, and now they're much more reasonable. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, it's a good fight again. Like if you got if you got to outlaw those odds, that's massive value. Because even right now, I still think he's showing a lot of value. Because I'm really high on Outlaw. Like I think the UFC really messed up not signing him. He's one of the top guys, like one of the top lightweights, prospect wise. Chandler's coming off that knuckle loss to Pitbull, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he looks here. Outlaw's stepping in on short notice, so I don't know how like in shape he was or how much he was training, but he's a guy that ATT, like I've talked before, like he's always in the gym training. So he should be in good shape, but I have to favor Chandler slightly, but I think it's a dog or pass situation. I think if you're going to bet on this fight, I think you have to go with Outlaw.
Yeah, Michael Chandler, you talk about best fighters of the decade, like he's got to be in the list, the short list for sure. Not on the top 10, but the top, 20, 30. He had a really good decade, but he kind of tailed off a little bit too. He had those couple losses to Will Brooks, and since then, he has had some nice wins for sure. Like the Brent Primus rematch, he looked good there. Benson Henderson, he beat. That was a really good fight. But I don't know, like the last fight against Pitbull, like he's starting to show his wear a little bit again. Got knocked out by a smaller guy, and Outlaw has a ton of momentum, man. He's really underrated, 27, so he's really young, 6 years younger, and he's on a nice 9-fight win streak. He's got all the momentum coming into this fight, Cole. I know he took it on short notice, but like you said, Cole, this guy's a gym rat, man. He's always in the gym training, and he just fought last month against Roger Huerta. And yes, that's not a great win. Roger Huerta is not the guy he used to be back in the UFC when he was a really top prospect like 10 years ago, but it's still a dominant win. And before that, he had beaten a bunch of guys in island fights, Ring of Combat, CFFC, Titan FC, the Contender Series. This guy's fought everywhere, Cole, and he's looked really good. So, you know what? I know it's crazy, but I'm actually going to pick Sidney Outlaw here. I do think he's going to win this fight. At plus 275, it's a no-brainer to take a shot on him because Michael Chandler's not the same guy he once was. Yes, he is the better fighter. Yes, he's the more accomplished guy, but I don't care. I think Sidney Outlaw is going to win this fight, Cole. Give me Sidney Outlaw. I don't know how he gets it done. Might be a decision. Might be a stoppage, possibly, but I do think he wins. Plus 275, good odds. Would have rather had plus 600. Once again, the odds makers, crazy line at the opener, but yeah, most people are going to pick Michael Chandler. I just think Sidney Outlaw is really underrated and will get the job done. All right, next up, we have a lightweight bout between Goiti Yamauchi and Darren Cruikshank. This is another fun fight call. I like this fight. A fun one here. Goiti Yamauchi open at minus 500, Cruikshank plus 400. Right now we have Yamauchi minus 335, Cruikshank plus 275. Who's your pick?
Yeah, this is a good fight. This is one of the Bellator versus Risen fights. I like Yamaguchi here. I think he's going to get a submission win over Cruikshank. I just think Yamaguchi can get this fight down to the ground, and I think once it's on the ground, his BJJ is way better than Cruikshank. I think he'll get another first-round submission. He's the submission leader in Bellator for a reason. I think he'll add to it here.
I agree with that. By the way, I forgot there were some props available, so just looking at a few of them, like Jackson inside the distance plus 117. I don't think he's going to go the distance with Fedor, but at the same time, that odds, those aren't great odds compared to like the money line. So guys, if you're going to, choose a prop on Rampage, just go with the money line just in case it does go distance for 20-cent difference. As far as this fight goes, I also like Yamauchi inside the distance. I think he does finish Derek Cruikshank, and the odds on that are only minus 155. So like my 200-cent difference, that's a big difference. I think he wins by submission, Cole. Derek Cruikshank is a good fighter, but he's been submitted a number of times on the ground. Yamauchi's really good on the mat. And he's got a lot of momentum coming in this fight, man. He's looked really good, Cole. I think this guy, I know he's had some losses in Bellator, but he's also very young, 26, and he has a ton of experience now. I like this guy a lot. Give me a Mauchi. I think first round submission, Cole. I think there's a really good chance that happens. Fun fight though while it lasts, and Cruikshank's going to throw off some flying knees and some crazy kicks, but eventually I think the fight goes to the ground and Mauchi finishes it there. Next up, oh man, a welterweight mismatch of epic proportions here. Another mismatch for Michael Page against Shinzo Anzai. Page open minus 900, Anzai plus 600. Right now we have Page minus 1100, Anzai plus 700. Does Anzai have a chance?
No, I think Michael Page knocks out in the first round, but I wouldn't even bother betting. Like we've said it time and time again. Like we said with Devontae Smith when he was the huge overcome worthy. Don't even bet it. It's going to add a few dollars to your parlay if you do it, and the risk is not worth the reward at all.
I mean, Cole's bang on with that. There's just no point. Minus 1100, I'll pass on that. Just the prop on him winning inside distance, minus 335, maybe that's a better way to go. But it could go the full 3 rounds. Like, he could just play with this guy. Anzai is, he's not a horrible fighter by any means. Like, we saw him in the UFC, he had a little bit of success. He actually had a win there, but he's just being brought in here to lose. Page is going to style this guy. I think Page knocks him out. But again, if Anzai does manage to get there 3 rounds, it's possible, and you'll be kicking yourself if you bet that prop at heavy juice. So Michael Page by knockout, but there's no way I'd bet on this fight at these odds. It's just stupid. All right, next up, welterweight bout, Lawrence Larkin against Kaden Nakamura. 2 former UFC guys. Larkin minus 600, Nakamura plus 450. Those are the opening odds. And right now we have Larkin minus 510, Nakamura plus 405. Who's your pick?
Yeah, I like Lawrence Larkin here. And Larkin has actually some good wins. Like he has a win over Robbie Lawler in Strikeforce. He has a win over Santiago Ponzinibbio, Jorge Masvidal, and Neil Magny in the UFC. Those are really good wins. And in Bellator, he's looked fairly good. Like he had the back-to-back losses to Douglas Lima and Paul Daly, which he was supposed to be one of those guys that could come in for in the UFC. He was coming off a 2-fight win streak. He was going to have success. That kind of derailed a bit. Then he picked up the win over Gonzalez, and then Ian Pascu was an okay win. But his last performance against Andre Koreshkov, that was a really good win. I don't agree with the split. I thought he won pretty unanimously, but I think Larkin wins this fight, and I think he gets the next title shot at Lima. I don't think Nakamura, he's been knocked out before, and I think this is a fight where or no, he hasn't been knocked out. Not recently in a while. He's just lost the decisions. I think Larkin has the power where he can knock him out, but I would think Larkin wins by decision probably.
Yeah, Nakamura has a hell of a chance. This guy has like 50 fights. He's been knocked out once, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a very experienced guy. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He had 2 stints in the UFC, but not a ton of success. He did have a win in his last fight in Ryzen, so good for him to get back in the winning ways. And by knockout, no less, which was surprising. The guy is a submission master, Cole. Look how many submissions he has, man. He's got a ton of them. So if the fight goes to the ground, Nakamura actually has to be favored, but I don't think it goes to the ground. I think it stays in the feet. I think Larkin styles on this guy. It could be a knockout or it could be decision. It's once again one of those tough calls to kind of bet on. And if you look at the props, let's take a look at those. Larkin inside the distance, that's plus 181. So I mean, if you think he's going to knock him out, it's possible, right? But again, this guy's only been knocked out once in his whole career, so it's risky. Yeah, I don't know, Cole. Minus 510 is high, but I do think he wins. I like Larkin here. Either decision or knockout. He's going to win, and he's going to fight Lima again in a rematch, and it should be a good fight the second time around. And I think there's one other fight here is Kana Watanabe against Lara Joanne. That's the last fight with odds. And the opening odds had Watanabe at minus 155 and Joanne at plus 115. And right now we have Watanabe minus 120, Joanne plus 100. Any thoughts on this fight?
I actually like the underdog in Joanne here. I think she's looked more impressive than Watanabe. It's going to be a close fight. That's why the odds practically pick them. They're both good on the ground. They both have a lot of submissions. I think Joanne's ground game is better, and if it stays standing, that's where it's kind of going to be interesting because their striking is both their underrated parts of their game. Like, no one knows how good it can be, so if it stays standing, it's going to be interesting, but I think Joanne can get the fight down to the ground and really control the fight on the ground there and probably edge out a decision win.
Yeah, I took her in the last fight against Beck Rawlings, and it worked out pretty well. But, this is a tougher fight. I mean, Watanabe's undefeated. She's going to be having the hometown crowd way behind her. It's a tough fight to call, Cole, honestly. I think this one will go either way. I don't blame you for taking the shot on the dog here. I'll lean towards a little bit Watanabe, but definitely a close fight to go either way. So really, for me, no bet in this one. There's a bunch of other fights in this card, Cole. Let's just go through some of them quickly. Jared Brooks against Haru Ochi. Any thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, I like Jared Brooks in that one. I think he still should probably be in the UFC now. They're keeping more flyweights. I think he's a really good fighter. He's an entertaining guy, but I think Brooks will get a win here and hopefully get a couple more, and then maybe the UFC signs him.
Any other fights on the card that catch your eye?
Just John Tuck making his first fight since
I see
being
that.
released from the UFC because he was supposed to fight Gertz Bellator Dublin, I think it was 227, whatever they called it, but that fight got out, and now he's actually returning. He had a couple notable wins in the UFC, but he fought a lot of tough guys. But it's good to see him back, and I think this is a win for Tuck to. This is a fight for Tuck to win, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that he's fighting Ryo Ichiro Sumemura. So this guy has Ryu and Ichiro's names in his first name. That's pretty sweet. So I don't know if I want to bet against that guy. I'm just kidding. But yeah, John Tuck is like not a bad fighter. But cool. He's 35, man. He got old quick.
Yeah.
He was a top prospect for a while in the UFC. And all of a sudden he's 35. So that guy got a little quick.
Like, in the UFC, he had back-to-back splits against Josh Emmett and Damon Brown. If one other judge had him winning like his entire career, like he'd still probably be in the UFC.
Yeah, he lost the decision to Kevin Lee, lost the decision to Quinton, the Ultimate Fighter. His best win is probably Takanori Gomi, which is not a great win at this point. But yeah, and also he beat Edward Fowling, who's a pretty good fighter and won championship. So he does have a few good wins. But yeah, we'll see what happens for him in Bellator. Any other fights that caught your eye on this card?
No, those are just the main two, just Brooks and Tuck.
No worries. All right, let's talk about some fight announcements for other cards coming up here. UFC Brasilia got a whole bunch of fights announced yesterday, Cole, including one you sent to me right away. You're like, whoa, I can't wait for this fight. Brandon Moreno against Jussier Formiga. Give me your thoughts on this one, man.
Yeah, that's a sweet fight. I think this one could really be the number one contender for the winner of Benavidez Figueiredo. They're both up there, like Pantoja's right up there flyweight. It's good to see flyweight finally having fights that mean something because with Cejudo holding up the belt for a long time, you didn't know like if these fights were for number one contender or if they'd get the next shot. But this fight is really interesting. It should be a really exciting fight. I would probably put this as a front runner for fight of the night already on this card. Like I'd probably favor. I don't even know who I'd favor. Like I have to look more into it. It's a super close fight. I maybe favor Formiga slightly, but it's a very close one.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. I don't know. It's tough, right? Like Formiga has a lot of experience, and he's a really good guy, really good fighter. He beat Deiveson Figueiredo 2 fights ago, Cole. So this guy is good. I mean, his wrestling is really good. But he has lost, when he stepped up in competition, which always worries me. Moreno's looked really good as of late. Honestly, I think I'd favor Moreno a little bit because he just has more momentum going into this fight, which is important to me. But definitely Formiga is a solid fighter and definitely a guy that you don't want to mess with because he's very dangerous. A couple other fights announced for this card as well, including a bantamweight bout between Rani, Yahya, and Enrique Barzola. Another fun little fight here, Cole. Any thoughts on this fight?
It's going to be interesting because obviously Yahya hasn't fought since 234 when Simone really dominated him there. Mm-hmm. Barzola, he's dropping down to bantamweight. He fought featherweight, so it's going to be interesting to see how he looks at bantamweight. I always thought he was a bit small at featherweight, but I thought featherweight, like he had success. I'm surprised he did decide to drop down, but it's definitely going to be a fun fight. I'd probably favor Barzola slightly, but that all depends on how he probably looks on the scale.
Yeah, it's a good fight. Rani Yahya, another guy, he's very underrated. His record in the UFC, 4-7-10, 11-4-1 no contest. So a very good record in the UFC. He never really gets talked about as a contender because it seems like he goes on a win streak and then loses these fights that knock him down a few pegs. And Barzola, he was a guy that was hyped up a bit as a prospect, but never got that huge win. He does have a couple decent wins over like Bobby Moffett, which is pretty good. And even that Humberto Badene guy who just won that title in Camacho America last week, that tournament. So he's got a couple of good wins. I don't know. It's a tough one to call. I mean, Rani Yahya's ground game is super dangerous, but this guy's never been submitted. I don't know, Cole. I think I still have to favor Yahya a little bit, but I got to think about this one a little bit more because Barzola dropping down in weight definitely throws a wrench at things. We got a women's bantamweight bout. Yeah, bantamweight bout between Veronica Macedo and Malecki. So I guess Macedo's moving up in weight because she's been fighting a flyweight, if I'm not mistaken, right? So moving up and fighting Malecki. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't too impressed with Malecki. I know she got the win in Stockholm. She didn't look very impressive. Her striking wasn't that good. She's obviously really good on the ground, but I'd have to favor Veronica Macedo here.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one. I think Veronica's a better fighter too, but we'll see what happens. And then Marcel actually found some fight announcement, I should say, between Alessio Chirico and Abu Azaitar for a UFC fight night card in April that hasn't been announced yet. So I don't know where this card's going to take place, but I got to give Marcel credit. This guy digs and finds these fights that no one else finds. So any thoughts on this fight, Cole? Alessio Chirico versus Abu Azaitar. I'm guessing it's going to be a European fight night card. I don't see why.
Yeah, it has to be. This makes no sense being North America if it is. I'd have favorite Azaitar. I haven't been impressed with Chirico really. He's just so inconsistent. Like he's hit or miss. I think I have to favor Azaitar, but again, if it's such a close fight where the matching makes sense, but if this has to be in Europe, like there's no way this is in North America at all.
Yeah, any guesses as to where this card would be then? Because again, we both think it's going to take place in Europe.
Well, they both. It's not going to be in England because they go to London in March. Maybe this is the France card. Like maybe they go to Italy or something. Like I don't know. It doesn't make if it's in North America, I'd be surprised. These are both guys that you should be putting on European cards.
Yeah, and I forgot there's one other fight for this card as well. Julia Avila against Carolina Rose. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that's another close one that I have to look more, and it probably favors Avila slightly. I've just been a bit more impressed there in the UFC, but again, that's the one I'd have to dig a bit deeper and kind of look at. But early lean would be Avila.
Yeah, I agree with that one as well. But yeah, it should be interesting to see where that card takes place, Cole. I always like when they announce new cards. And we got one other comment here. Turned up MMA. I like Brandon Moreno. I like the new Brandon Moreno. Yeah, he looked great. That Kai Kara France fight was awesome. And Kai Kara France just got announced for another fight, Cole, against Tyson Nam. So that should be a fun one as well. I talked about it yesterday, but I like Kara France. I don't know what you think, but I like.
Yeah, I like Kara France a lot in that fight. I don't
believe in this guy, even though he lost this fight. Any other news that you want to talk about, Cole? I already talked about Woodley and Leon Edwards last night, but any thoughts on that one? I actually like Edwards in the fight, Cole. What do you think?
Yeah, I have an early lean toward Leon Edwards as well. I'm really high on Leon Edwards. I think he can be a future champ. I don't know if he'd beat Usman. I think him and Usman now would be a really close fight. I'd want to see the rematch, but I don't know. Just the time off for Woodley and how Woodley looked in his last fight, like I'd have to favor Edwards slightly.
Yeah,
but I do think Woodley's probably going to be a slight favorite to open.
Yeah, no, that's what I said last night. I think so too. Anything else that happened in the last couple days since I haven't seen you? How was your Christmas? Good?
Yeah, it was really good. Just spend time with family, like take a break from working a bit. But what about you?
Yeah, it was good, man. Santa was good to Adam, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it was really good for you. No, it was good, and got to see some family, spend some time. You know, like, especially as a journalist, man, it's such a crazy job, and like you really don't get a break. And you're always like on the grind. You're always like doing something. You're always checking your phone. You're always checking your email. Always checking Twitter. Like there's never a break, Cole. You know, it's kind of a weird job. Like before I got into in journalism, like 10 years ago, I worked retail, and you'd go to work from 10 to 7 or 9 to 5 or 7 to 3 or whatever it was. Come home and then you don't have to think about work. But MMA is way different, and journalism's different. It's like you're always working, even when you're not working. I don't know what you think about that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, and covering fighting is a lot different too, because if you cover NHL, MLB, like you have the 3-4 months break in the off season.
True.
There is no off season MMA. Like 2-week break is our little off season right now, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good point, Cole. And I haven't been doing a ton of writing this month, so but it's been nice to get a small break. But yeah, I mean things are going back to normal very soon. We do have a small break, like you said, Cole, and then UFC, McGregor, and Cerrone next month. Did you see they sold all the tickets? I don't know if I talked about this. Man, 300.
Yeah, it was in minutes too, I heard.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, people have money, obviously. And by the way, McGregor, there's a story here on PJ Penn, donated $27,000 to the homeless. That's really nice of them.
Yeah, I like what a lot of them do. Like John Jones is going around and giving homeless people winter jackets and food in Albuquerque.
Yeah,
it's really good to see these high profile athletes using their platform to do good and hopefully showing their fans you should go do this as well.
There's also a story here by Tom saying that UFC could be near $1 billion in revenue for 2019. Wow. Any thoughts on that?
I think that a lot has to do with the ESPN money. This is the first year of ESPN. The reported thing was they're guaranteed 500,000 pay-per-view buys, and I don't think many pay-per-views were getting 500,000 before. So I think what's 500,000 for 12 pay-per-views at what was it, $60 a pop? That's already there, a lot of money. Then you have all the Reebok money coming in. You have the fight night money. You have the attendances. You have all that stuff coming in. The UFC is a big machine, and just I'm not surprised to see that their revenue is almost $1 billion.
I'm not either, but it's like pay the fighters more. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, we could have a whole episode talking about fighter pay, but it's kind of sick, man. I love the sport, love UFC. They are the leader in the sport, but man, it's sick when the split is 80-20 in the UFC's favor. It's terrible. Like every other sport, Cole,
it's 50-50.
it's all 50-50, dude. If not slightly towards the players. Like it's crazy. And I always find it funny. Like I follow the other sports, especially baseball. I really like baseball, and like people complain about the contracts. Guys will get like $100 million, and in the comment sections are like, the guys should do even more because the owners are pocketing all this money. Well, watch the MMA fighters, man. They get nothing. Anyways, got a couple of last questions here. Kenshiro Rio Doju. Ryzen needs Bellator help since that whole tension versus Mayweather not only ruined their own prospect fighter, but wasted $9 million paying Mayweather. They could have used to sign more talent. Not to mention a lot of national Japanese brand sponsors probably was unhappy how Ryzen made their own people look like a fool. When Tension Tanaka became an anime meme, Ryzen bankruptcy and coming soon. Yeah, that was weird. It was like an exhibition fight, and he got knocked out pretty good. I mean, what were people thinking? I can't remember if their odds were like that or not. But again, people were like saying that Mayweather was going to lose, but in a boxing match, I don't know about that. Any thoughts on that comment there?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because even Scott Coker earlier this week, they were asking about Tenshin Nasukawa because apparently he's not happy with the Ryzen, and a lot of people thought he'd go to 1 because that's kind of right there. And he said, "I would don't be surprised if you see Tenshin being in Bellator kickboxing because they put on some kickboxing events, but it's kind of weird. Risen they have a lot of good fighters, but they only put on events a couple times a year, so it kind of seems like people forget about it almost. And then I don't know how big it is in Japan because obviously not that big in North America. Just because it starts at 1, 2 in the morning and people aren't going to wake up for that. But I don't know. Japan needs promotion, so I hope Ryzen does well. And I like what they're doing with Bellator, the cross promotion. Cross promotion makes MMA a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you, and I'm with Kenshiro as well. We do need Japanese MMA. You were a little bit too young, Cole, but back in the Pride days, it was the best. Pride was the best promotion, best fights. It's a shame it's not around anymore. I mean, it's been years now. It's been 13 years, I think, since it dissolved. But it was really the best promotion ever. Go on. Anyone listening today, go back and watch the old Pride fights. Go back and watch the whole series. I remember the first time I watched Pride 1, the opening song and the montage, and the fights themselves were pretty not as good. They were kind of early fights, but just the music, it got me so nostalgic, man. It's good stuff. One other thing here, Korean Zombie is out there and he's criticizing the rankings. And honestly, I feel like you can criticize Korean Zombie because I love the Zombie. Don't get me wrong, but he thinks he should rank number 2. Really, he got knocked by Yahya last year. Cole, Yahya should be ranked 1 spot above him, if you ask me.
Yeah, but I also think Zabit's too high because Zabit hasn't.
And you know what? I think if they fought, I would pick Zabit. But as far as the rankings go, he shouldn't be that high. Why is he number 3?
I think he should be Holloway. I still think Ortega should be up there. He's only lost to Holloway, and then I think you should do Yahya or Zombie, Zabit to round out your top 5. Zabit's only beat a guy. He hasn't beat anyone in the top 10. I think his biggest win was, or maybe Stevens when they fought was top 10, or might have been 10. I don't remember, but I don't know why Zabit's so high. But Zombie really shouldn't even be ahead of Yahya Rodriguez because
I agree.
That was last year. I get if it's been a couple years, but that was literally last year.
No, I'm with you, and I love the Zombie, but we have to go by head-to-head wins, and that was only a year ago. By the way, it's funny that they still haven't updated Max's picture. He's still got the belt. He's held the belt for so long that they don't even have a picture of him without the belt. All right, last question here. We're gonna get out of here. Pride FC made Ryo Dojo again. Pride FC made stereo use fun and exciting. Yes, it did. And foot stomps and headbutts made Pride FC a true man sport. Don't go to the Pride ring unless you're ready to die. LOL. Yeah. Knees to the head on the ground. That's why Mark Coleman won the Grand Prix back in 2000. He's just the hell out of guys. Igor Vachanchyn, another guy that did that. Anyways, I love Pride, man. It was great. All right, cool. Plug your stuff, and we'll get out of here.
Twitter at ColeSheldon91. Just today, I'll have some fighter picks on Fedor Rampage, but it's just been a slow week, just enjoying time with my family over the holidays. Everything else will be on my Twitter.
Yeah, I don't expect our paychecks to be great for this month. I'll just say that, Cole. But you know what? It's okay because, again, we needed the break anyways. All right, guys, you can check me on Twitter at MMAdammartin. This podcast, MMAOddsbreaker.com, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, a lot of places. And also check me out at bjpen.com, MMA Rings on Net. Pride, I almost called it Pride. Bellator Ryzen tomorrow night. It's going to be great. And then next week we got PFL. Cole, if you want, you can come on with me next week and we'll break down the last card of the year, PFL Championship. Ryudoju, peace, guys. Peace, buddy. Thanks, guys, for tuning in today for the podcast. And I'll be back Monday for the Monday edition of the show. Guys, have a great weekend. Bye.